So I have now the great pleasure of introducing Ms. Purnima Kochikar, Director of Business Development, Games and Applications at Google Play. I could tell you some obvious facts about her bio, that she has over 20 years of experience in development, in marketing, in engineering. I could also tell you that while she held these roles, various roles at Nokia before she joined Google, that she rose to the top in the first levels of executive leadership, where she won over hearts at Nokia. Those are some of the more, I think, fun facts of her life. She's also been very active in education. She started actually her first company devoted to computers and education while she was in college. And then she's very passionate about K-12 education and entrepreneurship, where in both areas where she advocates for women excelling in those areas. Another fun fact is that she's actually working with someone she grew up with at the University of Minnesota as part of the Global Health Initiative. And they grew up in Udupi. So small world. Purnima, you need no further introduction. I give the stage to you. Welcome.
Thank you, Radhika. And good morning, good evening, TiEcon. Welcome to the grand keynote. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce the keynote speaker, who Time magazine has described as one of the top 100 heroes and icons of this century, Dr. Deepak Chopra. A world-renowned pioneer in integrative medicine and human transformation, Dr. Chopra has been on the forefront of helping individuals and organizations unlock their immense potential. A prolific writer and a best-selling author, his 90th book, that's right, 90, is called Meta-Human, in which he writes about unlocking the secrets of moving beyond our personal limitations to access a field of infinite possibilities. So I'm really grateful that Dr. Chopra has decided to spend his morning with us to talk about reinventing ourselves during and after COVID-19. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Chopra. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Purnima, and thank you, great TiEcon convention. And this is the new way to do seminars and workshops and conventions. So congratulations for pioneering this new era. I have 25 minutes and then I shall be happy to answer your questions. I just want to start out by saying that the COVID-19 pandemic is very serious, is life-threatening, is causing a lot of existential anxiety across the world, not in just one or two countries. And there is an underlying fear of death. The process that humanity is going through right now, as a physician, I can tell you, is a process of grief. Grief occurs when you lose something, when you lose your parents, when you lose a loved one, when you lose a job, when you lose your way of living. And as a physician, I have watched grief in the emergency room and watched its rapid sequential unfoldment in 1 hour in patients who are going through a heart attack or something like that, an acute situation in the emergency room, where they know they're going to die. And what happens is very quickly, at first, they feel victimized. Why me? Of course, right now, that why me is internal dialogue across the world. The second phase of grief is anger, actually, and hostility and resentment, which can last a long time, but in the emergency room, we have only 1 hour before death in some cases. So people have to go through this sequence very fast. Anger, hostility, resentment. The third stage is a deep sense of frustration, resignation, helplessness. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't go beyond this stage. The fourth stage is actually something very beautiful. It is acceptance. Acceptance means you accept what is right this moment. And if you accept what is right there this moment, there's an opportunity in that for healing. Acceptance leads to healing, leads to opportunities. So COVID-19, if we accept it, is telling us a lot of things. Number one, it's telling us that climate change is reversible. As soon as we are restricted to our cages, the air is better. The fish are returning to dead lakes. Even the canals of Venice have fish. The birds are singing. People can breathe better in Bangalore, I'm told. You can see the Himalayas from 400 miles away. And we are also recognizing that an oil-free economy is possible and new technologies are emerging. In fact, if we have time, I can share with you all the amazing technologies that have emerged in times of crises, pandemics, and global depression. Every time there's been that, there has been emergence, and we can talk about the mechanics of emergence as well. So we are now aware that climate change is possible. Climate change reversal is possible. We are also aware that an oil-free economy is possible. We are also aware that these new technologies that we are creating, including the one we're using right now, will surpass everything that we have in the past with AI and deep learning systems and on all the ramifications of that, from virtual reality to augmented dreamscapes, and on to bioregulation, biofeedback, new algorithms for monitoring physical well-being, social well-being, emotional well-being, even job well-being. We will see a revolution, but we have to also recognize the current situation, which is social unrest, racial injustice, economic injustice, a planet that is rapidly becoming non-sustainable with eco-destruction, extinction of species, poisoning of the food chain, and inflaming of the entangled microbiome, which gives rise to life on our planet. We have a microbiome, 25,000 human genes, and about 2 million to 20 million bacterial genes, with maximum diversity of genetic information. And it is this diversity of genetic information that is responsible for life on this planet, including plants and animals and primates and humans and microbes. In fact, according to some evolutionary biologists, if insects disappeared from our planet, life would stop on this planet in 5 years. If insects, bacteria, viruses disappeared from our planet, life would stop on this planet in 5 years. The same evolutionary biologists tell me that if humans disappeared from this planet, then life would flourish in 5 years. This would be a Garden of Eden once again. So we have to ask ourselves, what is more important for existence, human life or all life? You know, in the great traditions of the East, in the wisdom traditions of Vedanta and Kashmir Shaivism and Buddhism, life is entangled. It's not by itself. There's no such thing as the separate self. We are entangled at the level of microbes, at the level of genetic information, which we call the entangled microbiome, which gives rise to the diversity of life, and ultimately is responsible for the biosphere. The biosphere is the ecosystem in which we all thrive. And that should be the number one science today, ecology, because everything is an ecology. TiEcon is an ecology. Everything is an ecology. Everything in the universe is interdependently co-arising instantly and timelessly in what we call now. And when that entanglement, when that interdependent co-arising of everything, information, energy, consciousness, perception, experience, relationships, when that is nurtured, then life thrives. When that is not nurtured, there is what we call mutation. Now, what I'm saying right now is not politically correct, because the whole emphasis right now is on a vaccine. And I hope a vaccine comes along very soon. And I, of course, support everything that we are doing to halt transmission. But that's not the solution. Vaccine will come and go, mutations will come and go. Any biologist will tell you that mutations occur when an ecosystem is stressed. And what is stressed right now is the ecosystem of genetic information on our planet. And if we develop a new vaccine and the ecosystem of our planet remains distressed, inflamed, then there will be other mutations. Only 5% of mutations that occur biologically, we don't know the cause. I'm sure there is a cause. And there are genetic, of course, reasons for mutations, but most mutations are due to environment, or what we call the environment, which is a silly word too. You know, the Vedantists of the great luminaries of India never spoke of the universe as the environment. It was your extended body. The trees are your lungs. If they didn't breathe, you wouldn't breathe. If you didn't breathe, they wouldn't breathe. The earth is recycling as your body. The reason Indians worship Ganga is it is your circulation, and it is your the pulse of the universe, is your heartbeat. Everything is throbbing with information, energy, and correlation at all times. So we have a personal body, we have a universal body, and they both equally ours. You put an animal, a mammal, in a vacuum, it dies. You put a plant in the vacuum, it dies. You put them both together, they both thrive. So we have to face the situation that the world today is unsustainable. It is socially and racially unjust. It is economically unjust. And it is the reason why many people are saying that we face the next extinction. Last extinction was 65 billion years ago. The next extinction, everybody believes, will be caused by humans. And climate change is only one element. There's mechanized death, there's nuclear weapons, there's biological warfare, there's cyber warfare, and all our metaphors are violent. War on drugs, war on poverty, war on lack of education, war on racial injustice, war on terrorism. It's an oxymoron. There is no violent solution to anything. The only solution comes from emergence, creativity, and a grand vision. And today scientists, social scientists tell us that emergence happens when there's maximum diversity in any organization, but also in an ecosystem. So in an organization that wants to bring about change, the maximum diversity has to include not just technology people and science people, which are very important. Today's science is the new story. Technology is the new story, the most successful adventure that humans have ever taken. But if you want emergence, you want maximum diversity in organizations. That includes poets, humanitarians, entertainers, songwriters, Bollywood if you wish, Hollywood if you wish, entertainment, education, humanitarianism, social scientists. Imagine what could happen if there was maximum diversity of science, humanities, and people who are interested in conscious realization. Maximum diversity, a shared vision, complementing each other's strengths, total openness, open platforms, open to feedback, and daring to face criticism is the only way for emergence. Otherwise, there is no emergence. We'll keep using the old metaphors of war. So today is the opportunity to create a more joyful, healthy, sustainable, peaceful, just planet. And it is possible. Today's technology is telling us that what we are using right now, the internet, is our global brain. I can send somebody an emoticon with a hug and a kiss and give them a dopamine hit in a minute. And dopamine is an immunomodulator. It modulates the immune system, as does serotonin, oxytocin, opiates, etc. By modulating the global brain, we can create a pandemic of joy. All you have to do is give attention, affection, appreciation, and acceptance to your loved ones and tell them to do the same and use our technology to rewire our global brain. But we have problems. We have problems of divisiveness, quarrelsomeness, competition. I would say the whole world right now is suffering because of that. So, because we are facing this pandemic, let's very clearly see what are the various pandemics that are occurring at this moment. First, there's the COVID-19 pandemic, which is very interesting in the way it is emerging right now from a clinician's point of view and the way it's evolving. So initially, when the pandemic occurred, it was very obvious that the people at risk were either elderly or they were taking medication or they had some chronic illness like diabetes, obesity, hypertension, heart disease, cancer, autoimmune illness, so forth. And as you look at these risk factors, you find, and we have a library that does online searches. It's called the Chopra Library. I'm happy to send you all the correlations and all the published studies, but it's very clear that chronic disease is accompanied by low-grade inflammation, low-grade anxiety, and low-grade depression. And chronic disease is preceded by low-grade inflammation, anxiety, and depression by decades. And sometimes we have no idea why the low-grade anxiety is there or low-grade depression. It's called free-floating anxiety. People don't know why it's there. It's probably existential anxiety that somebody has at some time, particularly when they grow old. And then, of course, there's inflammation, which is accompanying that. And that's the risk factor for all chronic disease. 95% of chronic disease is due to low-grade inflammation in the body. Only 5% of genetic mutations are what we call fully penetrant, which means they guarantee the disease. So somebody has a BRCA gene for breast cancer, that guarantees the disease. So you have to take all the necessary precautions, including sometimes prophylactic mastectomy and radiation and all that. But that's 5% of all illness, not just cancer, all illness. Okay, 95% of chronic disease is low-grade inflammation that's related to lifestyle. Lack of sleep, stress, lack of mind-body coordination, lack of exercise, emotions that cause distress like anger, hostility, resentment, grievances, and shame and rage and all of that that's happening across the world, that causes inflammation in the body as well. So managing your emotions in the direction of love, compassion, joy, empathy actually regulates the body through biofeedback and causes the secretion of the immunomodulators that I mentioned before. So healthy emotions and healthy relationships are a very important part of our biological integrity. And emotions affect the body. In fact, any emotion instantly affects the body. If I asked you right now to think of a stressful situation or a situation that you remember as provoking anxiety, just visualize it for a moment and you'll feel there's a shift in your body instantly. And if you shift in that emotion instantly to total peace, equanimity, joy, love, compassion, instant change. The body is the instant monitor of your emotions, which are an instant monitor of your internal dialogue, which is either me or mine, or I'm part of an ecosystem of existence. So healthy emotions, deep rest, some connection with nature, a diet that doesn't ruin the microbiome. 30% of the microbiome has disappeared in the industrial world. If you're born in New Delhi or New York or Los Angeles, it's a good likelihood that you have dysbiosis. That means your microbiome is distressed. And a diet that has maximum diversity of plant-based foods, a diet that is not contaminated by carcinogens and antibiotics and inflammatory products, which is most of industrial food production. Glyphosate is now under attack because, it causes cancer. So a healthy diet that improves the integrity of the microbiome. As I said, 30% of it has disappeared. If you live in the Amazon, you have 20 million extra genes, maximum diversity that give you a healthy body. Even that is being ruined right now. So healthy planetary microbiome, the healthy soil is the key to climate change, actually reversal of climate change, the key to well-being of the biosphere that is inside your body, but also as part of the biosphere that we call the planet. So we have to look at all the factors that mitigate inflammation. Now, something even more interesting, the young people who are dying of COVID-19 at the moment, or who are getting acute respiratory distress at the moment, the younger population, if you look at them, they have actually something in addition to the chronic inflammation. They have acute inflammation. It's called a cytokine storm. So their body is flooded with inflammatory markers. They're the ones who are getting sick. They're the ones who are ending on the respirator. We have published this, and I'm happy to share the publications with you, both in the general press, but also now coming up in a peer-reviewed journal, that acute and chronic inflammation is what is causing morbidity and mortality. So we have to take precautions, social distancing, all of that, masks, all of that. But right now, even the recent research is saying that the virus can be transmitted by particulate matter that is in the wind, in the currents. That if you have a pandemic in New York, the wind currents, the climate itself can transmit the virus through particulate matter. So you have to realize that actually even 6 feet is not enough. Have you ever inhaled smoke from a smoker 200 yards away? Well, that means you're inhaling their particulate matter. And that's causing distress in you too. So we have to understand that the only solution to this is a holistic solution. Okay, given that, we have to manage stress as well, which causes acute inflammation. And for that, in my mind, the best techniques still are meditation, yoga, pranayama, anything that stimulates the vagus nerve. So we have a sympathetic overdrive that causes stress, but we have a parasympathetic nervous system, which was the focus of all mind-body healing techniques and yogic practices in India for thousands of years. Now, all the evidence is showing that vagal stimulation, either artificially or through biofeedback or through breathing or through yoga, is actually counteracts all the effects of acute inflammation in the body and can minimize morbidity by as much as 65 to 70%. And we are publishing this data. And you're welcome to share it if you want to. We'll be happy to share it with you. So the second pandemic, stress, is as worse as the first pandemic, the disease itself. And of course, the third pandemic is an economic crisis, which is worse than, of course, the stress epidemic, which is worse than the COVID-19 pandemic. All these three have to be addressed. The financial crisis, the crisis of confidence and existential anxiety and the fear of death, and the financial crisis are also entangled, and their solution is entangled, and technology is the solution ultimately, combined with emergence and creativity and collective intelligence. TiEcon is an organization of collective intelligence. I can't think of something more amazing, actually, in a way, because it brings the genius of the wisdom traditions with the smartest technology and the smartest people in technology today in Silicon Valley and elsewhere. the Silicon Valleys that are emerging. And India is a leader of that. You know, I'm a beneficiary of that. I remember in medical school, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, when you know, I had just entered, but previous to my entry, Jawaharlal Nehru laid a vision for India for 100 years. And he mentioned IITs, he mentioned the technology institutes, he mentioned All India Institute. And he said 100 years from now, 100 years from now, these people will rule the world. They will create the world. And so that vision, by the way, of the IITs and all the technology institutes in India and the Institute of Medical Sciences, that vision goes back a long time. Some of us don't even remember that that was a vision. It was a 100-year vision. Today, the visions are 4-year cycles of political cycles. And the world is ruled by gangsters. So, my dear friends, it's time for me to stop, I think. And I'm happy to answer any questions, but I do believe that the only solution to current pandemic in the world, all the pandemics I've mentioned, the current solution to create a critical mass for a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world is the science of emergence. And I have laid out a little bit about the science of emergence. I'm happy to answer more questions. But TiEcon and similar institutes are the network of Indra's heaven. They say in Indra's heaven, there's a set of pearls so arranged that every pearl reflects all the other pearls, and every pearl is an aspect of one intelligence. And that one intelligence is Brahman, and the universe is Brahmand. It's the expression of that. Whether you buy into that philosophy or not, it doesn't matter. But emergence is now the key to all the problems facing humanity. The crisis is now. We either choose the way of extinction or we choose a way that could create a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful planet. Thank you. Thank you, Purnima, as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. At this moment, creating a pandemic of joy sounds wonderful. You have talked a lot, even today, that the right thing to do is to really think about how we can tone our, acquire vagal tone. A lot of TiE is also entrepreneurs and leaders. Besides what they can do for themselves, how can they create better vagal tone for their organizations that are also stressed at this time and their teams that are also stressed at this time?
That's a good question, Purnima. There's a lot of good research and data, particularly from Gallup, where I serve as a senior scientist at the Gallup organization. And we look at career well-being, and your question relates to careers and organizations. So the key to career well-being is shared vision, of course, a leader who inspires a shared vision, maximum diversity of talent as well, and then complementing each other's strengths. Those are the three things. So a good team complements each other's strengths. There are about 35 strengths that humans display in their careers. Somebody is good in marketing, somebody is good in accounting, etc., etc. So you identify everyone's strengths, and ideally speaking, you have a team between 5 and 12, and they in turn have teams between 5 and 12 with this principle: shared vision, complementing strengths, maximum diversity. And then you see what happens. And if they practice something together, incubate together. You know, these days, people incubate while playing golf, which is not a bad idea, by the way, and other things, you know, retreats. But incubation is also brainstorming with shared vision and going deep into stillness and see what emerges. So shared practices in an organization, even shared online practices of self-reflection, self-inquiry, inquiry about the organization. Who are we? What do we want? What's our purpose? What's are we grateful for? What's the next step? How do we create smart goals, stretch beyond our needs, make everything measurable, make sure that the team agrees, keep a record, put time limits, and you have an amazing entrepreneurial organization. That's only a bit of the research. The research also shows, by the way, that only 20% of people in the United States, I don't know about the world, are engaged in their work, and most of them are actively disengaged, which means they come to work not only unhappy, but to make other people unhappy. Only 20% of the people are actually engaged, 80% are disengaged.
That is quite a difficult statistic. And I know that in your recent podcast of Now for Tomorrow, you talk about noticing. There are a couple of questions from the audience. One that says, how should people think about mental health at a time like this for organizations? And the second, can organizations truly together get to emergence?
I didn't understand the second question. What is?
Can organizations achieve emergence together?
In fact, that's the only solution right now. Emergence is the only solution. And I think TiEcon is a perfect example, actually, of emergence. Right now, we have people from several countries. All I wish was there was even more diversity. Because right now, all the people are entrepreneurs. But if you had philosophers, humanitarians, storytellers, entertainments, music, all of that. And the first question was what again?
Mental health. You know, there's a lot of mental
There's
health.
no such thing as mental or physical health. It's the same thing. Everything you experience in the mind affects the body. Everything that affects the body influences the mind. So body, mind are one unit, just as space-time is one unit, mass energy is one unit, information energy is one unit. So is body, mind, one unit. It's a very silly dichotomy, mental health, physical health. It's one thing.
Yeah, so thank you for that. I know that you are getting ready for another 21-day meditation, which is in English and Spanish. So I suppose that is something that organizations could tune into.
Yeah, please do, because we have already taught 6 to 10 million people in English with the help of Oprah Winfrey. Now we have Jay Baldwin, who's the rock star in the Spanish world, helping us to reach the entire Spanish ecosystem. And it so happens that my audience in the Spanish world is bigger than my audience in the English world. So it extends the reach, hopefully.
You talked about the biome, and looks like our audience is also very interested. There's a question of, can we fix it? And is there a way to do it through the ages? I'm sure lots of people are parents. What do you do with young kids to all the way to older folks? Is there something we can do?
I think it all depends on where you live and the food you eat and also your lifestyle. But you can get your biome analyzed through artificial intelligence these days. It's very simple. It's a stool sample. You can also get your microbiome analyzed through saliva, and hopefully through skin soon, or through blood markers soon. That's all emerging. That's part of the emergence that's happening. You can get your microbiome analyzed. There are artificial and deep learning systems that will also correlate that with your diet and suggest what is the best diet. Of course, now the fashion of the day is probiotics, but probiotics, even a few billion, there are trillions of bacteria in your body. So, you know, probiotics, nice idea. Ultimately, the solution is diet. And diet which is not manufactured, processed, refined, has too much sugar or inflammatory products. That's the first rule, farm to table. But also maximum diversity of plant-based foods, vegetarian if preferable. If you're eating meat, then get it from a farm, not from a factory. And that's possible today. Okay, so you can get your biome analyzed. You can actually, within 6 weeks, get it reanalyzed and see the shift. It's easy to change your microbiome. You cannot change your human genes, but human genes account for 1% of your genes. The rest are all microbial genes, and you can change them. And even human genes, you can change their activity, which is called epigenetics, through lifestyle.
Thank you. Lots to think about. Shifting gears slightly, people are thinking about how hopeful are you? In the sense, when do you think this COVID thing will be behind us? Will organizations start traveling? Are we going to get on a plane anytime soon?
So this is a very interesting question. I don't believe in hope personally, because I think hope is a sign of despair. You know, you only ask the question when you're in despair. So you don't need hope, you don't need despair, you need to be real. And to be real is look at the data, create a new story, that's it. And the new story is emerging right now. So are we going to be traveling again? Yes. Are the planes going to be fueled by oil? Probably not in 20 years. Okay. Are we going to have COVID-free environments? Yes. In fact, I'm working right now with technology companies to create internal environments that are totally particulate-free of matter. So, of course, we can't guarantee right now, the people I'm working with right now, and that includes, by the way, IBM Watson, it includes Harvard, it includes Delos, it includes a number of other companies, including institutions like Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic, and myself as an advisor. We can't guarantee COVID-free environments, but we're getting there. We can guarantee an environment that is totally free of particulate matter. So actually right now, the outdoors is healthier than the indoors. In fact, if you take the indoors environments today, they're more polluted than the outdoor environments. If you can create the indoor environment totally particulate free, you have a solution to conferences, to airplanes, to transportation, and it's happening. I'm telling you, the demand for this technology is going up, skyrocketing right now. I'm writing a few articles about this too, and it's in collaboration. Again, it's emergence. It's not one institution, it's emergence. So the answer, will we be going back to normal? I think more than better than normal, because we will do less and accomplish more. We will do a lot of these events like this. We will travel probably less, but it'll be healthier and it'll be a cleaner environment if we follow emergence. Otherwise, go to the bar and get drunk.
That is definitely a good call for all of us to lean in. You also talk about interdependent co-rising and how our Eastern traditions teach us that in a very foundational way. So a couple of questions. One, there's a question that says, would Vedic studies more broadly help people? And second, when are we ever going to get past all this racial injustice, etc., when this is so well understood?
So very clearly, the Vedic tradition has outlined what today we are calling entanglement. Entanglement means everything is entangled. Every experience is entangled with every other experience. Okay, so there's entanglement at the level of genetic information. There's entanglement in your body. Your biological cells are entangled with each other. Your heart cells are doing something, your brain cells are doing something, your stomach cells are doing something, but they're all serving one purpose, homeostasis. Homeostasis means self-regulation. So entanglement is the key to self-regulation in the ecosystem of existence. That is what Eastern wisdom traditions call interdependent co-arising, which is Buddhist phrase. But Vedantic phrases, there's no such thing as the separate self. The separate self is a socially induced hallucination. So there is only interdependent co-arising, and the sooner we recognize that, the more emergence will happen. It's a very ancient idea that comes from India. So answer, would Vedic studies help in organizations? Of course they would help. Are organizations ready? I don't know. That's why I use all these American words, entanglement and emergence. These are Western ideas that are now coming, that are replicating ideas that have existed in India, particularly for thousands of years.
Couple of quick things. Given this wisdom that you have just shared with us, what are the three most important points mentor, advisor, or investor? How do you find that in organizations if you're investing or looking, or if you're hiring somebody, how do you find whether the person is more conducive for this?
Well, we're trying that in our own organization. We have a new company. It's called Chopra Global, and it's an emerging company. It's a startup with a lot of very heavyweight luminaries supporting it. And so we are trying the same principle first for ourselves in our hiring practices. And the most important thing is to figure out somebody's soul profile rather than their bio. Okay, so the soul profile is what makes you tick. Okay, what gives you energy? What is your passion? What is the quality of your relationships? Are you a good team player? What is your backstory? What is your current story? What is your future story? We create actually a soul profile. Again, I'm happy to share what that is, the questionnaire. Based on that, you create your organization and your entrepreneurial skills and your methodology for shared vision and emergence.
Sounds wonderful. Looks like there's a lot of questions about some of the resources you're asking for. Perhaps the soul profile, they're asking how to sign up for your meditation.
Carolyn in my office.
I will follow up with her.
She can send you all the information. Please join us and we will tell you soul profile. By the way, I have a book on this. It's called The Soul of Leadership. That course has been given at Kellogg for 14 years. It's been given at business school in Columbia for 11 years. It's been taught at Harvard, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's a very good summary of the principles of great leadership, which we need right now. We don't need spider leadership. You know, when you crush the head of a spider, it dies. What you need is distributed leadership with the starfish model. When you cut the limb of a starfish, it grows 2 more. If you cut all 6, it grows 36 limbs. So a distributed leadership with these principles is the key.
Wonderful. So I'll follow with Caroline for the various resources. There's a question that says this aspect of capitalism, where you're dreaming big dreams and innovating and creating, is it fundamentally in conflict with social good?
No, it's not. Actually, it's the most important thing right now is that vision for a higher purpose. And I think the 4 ingredients right now are integrity, which means keeping your word, keeping your promise, authenticity, being real, okay, not artificially positive, but being real, not hopeful, being real. So integrity, authenticity, taking total responsibility for what's going on in your life, in your organization, total responsibility, and having a higher calling. The moment you shift to a higher calling, stress disappears. Ask yourself, when you're stressed, who am I thinking about? And then if you're thinking only about yourself, you're getting stressed. If you're thinking about a bigger cause, there's no stress at all. The world supports you and the business is successful.
That is, I think, a great point on which we can close. Any last thoughts?
My only last thought is take it easy.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you for spending the morning with us.
Thank you, Purnima. Thank you very much.
All right, over to you.
Stay safe. Keep loving.
Thank you. Bye.